Greetings, chosen ones. This is going to be a chosen one message. I am still trying to decide if I'm going to continue it after. We'll see how it goes. So tonight's message is the thorn and the throne. This all started when I was on my walk earlier and having my time with God, listening to a few sermons, and I kept hearing the song, "Every rose has its thorn." And so I was like, okay, there are so many things in scriptures about thorns in the Bible, and so many of us, we know the metaphor of roses and thorns. Every rose has its thorn. So the thorn and the throne is the message for today. So chosen ones, the thing is, your thorn is exactly what takes you to your throne. And oftentimes, when we rebel from our duty, that is what takes us away from our throne. So people can wonder, why have I not achieved my throne? Why have I not achieved all these things? I'm working hard, I'm doing all these things, but you are avoiding your thorn. And by avoiding your thorn, by acting like it's not there, by pushing it aside, by trying to control your thorns, by hiding your thorns, you're actually keeping yourself from your throne. You're keeping yourself from the very place that you desire to climb to, what you're aspiring to. And so tonight's message, the thorn and the throne. So in 2 Timothy 4:5, he says, "Keep a sober mind, endure suffering, work at telling the others the good news, and fully carry out the ministry or the work that God has given you, that he's placed upon you," which, can also be seen as basically devote yourself completely to your work. Now, what is your work? Your work is whatever he has assigned to you. So, continuing on from that. It is our human fleshly nature to be rebellious, to be slothful, to be wicked, to kind of have this resistance, and that is a piece of our throne. However, so my thorn is not your thorn, and my roses are not your roses. So everyone has, different ones, and we can get so caught up in his thorn and her thorn that we don't ever really look deeply into our own, because that is something that can be quite fearful for the human condition. And then yet it keeps propelling this endless cycle of their thorn and his thorn and this thorn. If we just were to fully claim and acknowledge our own thorn, it would be the very path that ascends us immediately to our throne. So again, by human fleshly nature, it is to just be rebellious, to be slothful, to kind of have these burdens that weigh down on us. However, whenever we hand everything over to God, whenever we hand everything over, then we don't carry the burden anymore. He does. However, for him to carry that burden, we must be obedient to him. Going back to the 2 Timothy 4:5, we must devote ourselves completely to our work, the work that he has assigned us. So if we want to hand the burden over, we must be obedient, and we must, in exchange, take that, the work that he has bestowed upon us. In Colossians 3:23, he says, "Whatever you do it with your whole heart, for the Lord and not for human masters." So it doesn't matter, what your parents wanted from you, what your spouse, what you think your boss wants, what these other things think. And oftentimes that's what keeps us in a cycle as well, because people will say, well, I can't address this. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for this. And then things pile up and pile up and pile up, and the burdens get heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. Meanwhile, if they were to just simply hand everything over, allow him to carry the burden, honor their heart, honor their connection to Christ, honor their connection to God, and see, okay, what is it that God has instilled in my heart from a young age? What was I born to do? What things did I desire most as a child? Because that's honestly what it usually comes down to, is the things that we desired most as a child that kind of been buried and buried and buried. Because again, as I said in my previous Chosen One message, it is said, "No tree may reach heaven whose roots do not stretch all the way down to hell." And oftentimes we live our life, and the very seed that is going to ascend us to our throne has been buried and buried and buried. So it's about digging back to that seed. Whatever you do it with your whole heart for the Lord and not for human masters. So first, we must stop looking at his thorn, her thorn. We must stop crucifying their thorn, condemning their thorn. We must look into our own thorn, and we must claim it as whole. So going on to this, again, my rose is not your rose in life, so my thorn is not your thorn. Paul said in 2 Corinthians 12, "So to keep me from becoming proud, I was given a thorn in my flesh." Thorns teach us about God's grace. Thorns teach us patience. It teaches us the inevitable balance of things, that, we can't have a rose without a thorn, because every rose has its thorn. some people think, oh, wouldn't it be so nice if we could just have the good things in life? But you really can't enjoy the sweet nectar of life without having endured the depth of the suffering. I'm going to get into suffering in the next one, but we'll hold that thought because I want to get through the rest of these notes. So thorns teach us about the sufficiency of God's grace. And continuing on in 2 Corinthians 12:9, Paul's talking and he says, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in your weakness." And then Paul continues, "Therefore, I will boast gladly about my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may work through me." You know, so many people see boasting about weaknesses or speaking about their vulnerabilities or their struggles as a weakness. And that is how we tend to be conditioned in human society. Oh, don't talk about your struggle. Oh, don't talk about your weakness. Don't talk about your vulnerabilities. How dare you talk about those things? And so we get conditioned into just bearing our thorn. All the meanwhile, it keeps us from rising to our very throne. And yet, if we were able to just have total humility, hand it over to him, embrace our thorn, look at our thorn, acknowledge it, and say, "Hey, thorn, I see you. And not only do I see you, but I'm going to share you. I'm going to boast." Not just share, I'm going to boast about my thorn. Because that is exactly what Paul is saying here. "Therefore, I will boast gladly about my weaknesses. I will boast about my thorns so that the power can fully work through me." Because God cannot carry the burden. He cannot carry our thorn entirely unless we fully exchange and become obedient to him. For him to carry that burden, we must in exchange become obedient to him. We must do our duty. We must have discipline. What does discipline mean? I broke this down in the Chosen One message yesterday. Discipline is to simply be a disciple of something. So you have to really ask yourself, what am I a disciple to? And oftentimes, if we really get honest with ourselves, if we're not liking how something is going in our lives, and we were to simply journal and break down, okay, what am I a disciple to in life? Well, if you're drinking every day, or still having a pack of cigarettes every day, if you're watching porn every day, if you're doing these things, you're a disciple to those things. And so it's about getting honest and owning your thorn. So my first question and an inquiry for you watching this is, can you get honest with yourself about what your thorns are? Can you really dig deep, and can you acknowledge, write them down, and can you fully own them, witness them, view them, and allow yourself to really embrace what your thorn is? Can you even get to the next level where Paul was, where he's boasting gladly about his thorns? Because by owning them fully, by surrendering fully and saying, my God's grace is sufficient enough for me, and his power is only given through my weakness, through acknowledging that. It's made perfect in my weakness. That is what happens, because we must be bottomed out to be filled up. It's just like, you know, in Western medicine, this is my big qualm with it. It's great for acute things, but we really just treat the symptoms. You know, they don't really get down to the core root and dig out the seed of the dis-ease. You know, the lack of ease, the lack of harmony. And that is what happens in so many people's lives. They think that they're doing the right things, and they may be. But if they're avoiding the thorn, if they're avoiding the very thing, the very seed, then it's going to dwell. It's going to just stay there. It's going to rot. And it's never going to actually get better. And so the only way that it can is if we truly bottom ourselves out so that we may be filled up. Continuing on in 2 Corinthians 12:10, he says, "That's why I take pleasure in my weakness, my thorn. I take pleasure in the insults. I take pleasure in the hardships. I take pleasure in the persecutions. And I take pleasure in the troubles that I suffer. For when I am weak, that is when I am made strong." Because when he is able to fully embrace that, when he's fully able to embrace his thorns, when he takes pleasure in it, when he's no longer fighting it, he's no longer hiding it, he's no longer trying to control it, that is when God's grace is sufficient, and that is when God comes in and makes it light as a feather and carries it away. And that's when people's lives have miracles occur. It's not coincidence. It's a godly matter. It's a divine matter. And it happens because those people are able to bottom themselves out. They're able to embrace the hardships. They're able to embrace being persecuted. They're able to embrace all that they suffer, all of the insults, and they hand it over to him because they know that he is the only one with the true authority to have any judgment at all. So they don't take the time trying to justify this, trying to validate that. They don't need validation from anything else other than God's authority, other than God's grace, because his sufficient is enough. My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in your weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. when we clench on to our pride, when we clench on to our thorns, when we try and control our thorns, it paralyzes us. And redemption is truly only found when we surrender and hand it over completely. But first, we must take ownership. And so again, chosen ones, my inquiry for you tonight is, can you take full ownership of your thorns? Can you spend the next few days really getting curious and allowing yourself to find a new level of awareness of what your thorns are? And can you ask yourself, what would it take for you to bottom out and for you to hand your thorns over entirely to Him, so that you don't have to walk around with the burdens anymore, so it doesn't have to be so heavy anymore? But in exchange, how are you going to show up and be of duty? In exchange, whatever you do, do it with your whole heart, not for the human masters, but your whole heart. So in exchange, what are you going to do so that you can live and you can do it with your whole heart? Now, continuing on here, so redemption is found when we surrender our thorn, for that is when He gives us our throne. Only His duty for our life matters, only His placement for our life matters, and only His authority over your life is what matters. Not what your parents, your spouse, your boss, whatever around you. Stop giving authority to the people who don't hold the keys whenever He's the only one who holds the keys. So God is the only one who has authority, and as my thorn is not your thorn, and my rose is not your rose, it's not for me to judge, crucify, condemn, or anything to you, and it's not for you to judge, crucify, condemn anyone else's thorn. In fact, it's to be celebrated, it's to be fully witnessed, it's to be loved, it's to be cherished, and whenever we're able to release this control, that is again when we are granted our throne. The thorn won't have its authority over you anymore whenever you're able to hand it over. Instead, your thorn is very much the thing that takes you directly to your throne. All right, so I'm going to just do quick angel messages for the signs beginning with Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter, Capricorn. The thorn and the throne. Okay, so Capricorn, you are being told here, Capricorns like doing things by themselves. They'll show up to they'll show up to a party, make an appearance, but when they leave, they're like not gonna say goodbyes. They might just kind of like slip out slyly. They're like, how can I like make an appearance, dress nice, show up, say as little as possible, make the appearance and then kind of step out. The Capricorn, you're being asked to not do that. You're being asked to show up, and not only show up and show out, but to make your goodbyes. So there's something here about I'm hearing a run-on sentence, like not writing a run-on sentence or leaving a sentence hanging. Like, you need the full punctuation. The first letter has to be capitalized. There has to be a period at the end. So there's something here about leaving things unfinished. So for some of my Capricorns, you could feel like you have daunting tasks, kind of going back to the thorn and the throne, what this whole message is about. And there's something here that you're carrying, and you just feel like you have so many different things to do. And you're like, how am I going to finish all these things? How am I going to get through it? Spirit says, make an order. Make a list. I love lists, but make it a digestible list, because sometimes you can get overzealous and make a list that isn't quite, it's almost like overreaching. So instead of making a list of like 8 things, or you can make a list of like, okay, these are 10 things I want to accomplish this week. By Wednesday, I would like to have these 5 things accomplished. If I have more accomplished, that's great. And if I have 3 accomplished, that's great too, because at least I have 3 of the things accomplished. So you're also being told, Capricorn, to make sure that you are patting yourself on the back. Make sure also that you're spending more time outdoors in the evening, like looking at the stars, looking up at the moon. I know we have a full moon tonight. This is not a full moon reading. I'm saying that loud and clear here. But there's also something here, Capricorn, about spending more time in partnerships, allowing yourself to infuse yourself in new communities, getting to know new people, allowing new people to get to know you. And there's something here about finding a new tribe and like the order of your life going a lot smoother when you actually take the steps to put yourself out there. All right, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter, Aquarius. Aquarius, if you have expectations of something, tisk, tisk, tisk. That's what I'm hearing. So for some of my Aquarians, you feel like you're being bullied by a group who has too high of expectations of you, and you're like, but I'm the one caring for everyone, so this is BS. So back to the thorn and the throne message here for some of my Aquarians. Stop giving authority to people who do not hold the keys to your throne. Stop giving your authority, Aquarius, to the people who do not hold the keys to your throne. only God holds the keys to your throne here. So there's something here of releasing the expectation of others, perhaps even releasing others with kindness, not from a place of defensiveness, but from a place of self-love and self-care, and from a place of knowing that you have so many, like, for some of my Aquarians, I just have to say it, you have so many ancestors that are literally just like swarming you. This kind of goes into my chosen one message from a couple days ago, whenever I was sharing a moment that I had whenever I was in acupuncture, and whenever, as soon as I had all the needles in me and I closed my eyes, I was just like swarmed by all of these angels, and they were just these golden angels, and I saw them like traveling through the meridians of all my body and just like infusing my body with these just like golden beams, and just like, I don't know, it was such a powerful healing energy, and I just kept getting butterflies. And it was just, by the way, here's my plug for acupuncture. Some of my Aquarians, that might actually be really helpful for you, especially for stress. Any of my Aquarians, I'm hearing like, I'm not giving health advice, but if you have like any high blood pressure or stress, anxiety, frustration, insomnia, especially if you have trouble sleeping at night, going for a walk at night, and of course turning off your screens a couple of hours before you go to bed. Also like blue blockers and things like that can be helpful for you. All right, Pisces, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. Pisces, please like and subscribe whenever this is over on YouTube, helps the channel grow, and please share as well. All right, Pisces, there's someone here that you need to forgive, and or they need to forgive you. For some of my Pisces, you're also being told that joy is going to be found in partnerships. So you're being encouraged to allow yourself to explore new partnerships, new friendships. For some of my Pisces, the people in your life in this season are only here for this season. And it is for a reason, but they're not your long-term people. That's very loud for someone here. So there's something here about being able to have forgiveness for the expectations if someone was like, but I thought you were going to be here for forever. Or I thought, it's like, you know, people grow up and they change. And perhaps God's throne for you is in a different path than the person that you're with. And there needs to be some sort of realization of this, because for some of my Pisces, you're completely throwing yourself under the rug. You're completely throwing your heart away by trying to make something work that just is not going down the path that you're going down. I'm seeing a very clear Pisces here where it's like your life path and destiny is separate than the person that you've been spending time with, or the person that you're with, or a group. There's something here that you're connected to, and it's like you can have love and joy here and peacefully step away and go your separate paths. It's like you were brought into each other's lives for a season, for a reason, and it was beautiful and it was served. And now that it's served, it's time to release it, let it go, and give yourself permission to get to your throne, and also give that other person permission to move on towards their throne. All right, Aries, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. Aries. Woo. Aries, you are focused on education. Sounds about right. So for a lot of my Aries, if you're not in school, you're being told that if you do go to school, yeah, literally, this one is responsibility, sitting down at a desk. This one is education. This one is simplicity, and then birth. So you have birth of a new career by being responsible, sitting down and writing. Sounds like me, I'm literally sitting writing at a desk like 8 hours a day. And then we have like sleep at the bottom. So Aries, it seems like for you, the focus right now is educating yourself if you already have like certain degrees. And then this can just simply being getting like, I'm hearing like, what is it, like CEs or CU, continued education, CEs, whatever those are. So for some of my Aries, it's that, or this is just like picking up a book and actually prioritizing reading for like working up to 90 minutes a day, I'm hearing. It's great if you just start at like 15 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day. But for some of my Aries, it's like you want to learn a language, you want to learn a totally new skill. Again, you might be going back to college or going to some course. And by doing this, you need to put in 90 minutes a day, at least 5 days a week, you know, like you're in school doing this, like you're going to a class. You know, it's like for some of my Aries, just having a simple schedule and time in nature before you have your school time, and time being active, because Aries, it's very important for you to be active, you know, fire sign, but also it's just a sign of heavy activity. So for some of my Aries, if you feel like it's difficult for you to focus and for you to get your schoolwork done, or to really learn this new language, learn this new skill, get to that next level, if you actually prioritize time outdoors and time working out, you'll find that you are far more productive in your school time and in your learning. All right, after Aries is Taurus. Taurus, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. Taurus. Taurus, you're being told here to stand in integrity. Some of my Taurans, you might be too stubborn. Someone around you is too stubborn. You need to have grace with someone, but firstly, you need to have grace with yourself before you can ever bestow grace upon another person. Some of my Taurans, you are being out of integrity because you're being incredibly too stubborn and strong-willed about a situation. And I'm hearing Marsha, 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 but I'm also hearing mine. So for some of my Taurans, there's something here that's kind of like a possessiveness, an ownership, a very protective energy. And I'm not at all condemning that because it is a very beautiful Venusian motherly energy to have, to be very protective over your kin, over your cubs. So for some of my Taurans, you can be very protective over your cubs, or someone is protective over you and sees you as a cub. But there's something here, Taurus, about having more grace with yourself so that you can grant grace to those around you. And by just bestowing that grace, again, I spoke about this at the beginning message and the Chosen One message about God's grace is enough, it's sufficient. You know, when we're being too hard on ourselves, we are often projecting that outward and being too hard on others. And so there's something here, Taurus, where perhaps being too hard on yourself is bleeding out into your external relationships, and it's actually sucking joy and happiness and bliss out of a connection by being too hard on yourself and therefore being too hard on this other person, or they're doing this to you. And even if they're doing this to you, you can still bestow that sort of grace and compassion and not take it personally, and remember that their thorn is their business with God. It's not between you and them. So whatever people bring to you, Taurus, has nothing to do with you, has everything to do with them and their relationship to God. It has nothing to do with you. So don't take it personally. And by relaxing into that, you can actually mirror grace back to the person who's not mirroring grace at you, and you can actually plant the seed. And that's all that's necessary, is planting the seed of grace, and it will eventually bloom, whether you're in their life for the season that tree blooms or not. But they will remember that you are the one who planted the seed. All right, after Taurus is Gemini. Gemini, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. Gemini, there's something here that Spirit wants you to be willing to do. For some of my Geminis, you have the power to give someone like a leg up, and Spirit is saying by doing this, you can actually gain a lot more joy and radiance and happiness in your life. Now, for some of my Geminis, there could be somebody around you that has the power to be able to give you a leg up. And again, there's something here about someone who's in a higher power than another person. This can be like a mentor student. This can also be a relationship. This can be collaborators, someone in your field. But what I'm seeing here for this situation for Gemini is there's a mountain here, and someone here is like, how the heck am I ever going to climb this mountain? And they're feeling very like frustrated, but someone around them sees all their potential, and it's like they have the power to help this person up this mountain, and if they don't help them, they're going to end up at the bottom of the mountain themselves. This is like a test from God. God is like, okay, are you going to help this person up the mountain? And then the person that's waiting at the bottom of the mountain, it's a test for them to be patient, but also to embrace their struggle and to speak. This is exactly what I was saying at the beginning, Chosen One message, Gemini, is if you are not vulnerable enough to own your thorn, to own your struggle, to speak it out, then no one can know if you need help. So Gemini, your whole thing is closed mouths don't get fed. And remember that if people are going to project onto you signs of weakness for you expressing your struggle, it's your thorn and their thorn are different. It's not their business. It's none of their business. And trust me, God handles judgment. He handles it mercilessly and pretty ferociously. So don't worry about it, because if people don't want to grant you the grace during your struggle, then don't worry, because God will take care of them. And for the people who do grant you that grace, He will bless you both tenfold. All right, after Gemini is Cancer. Cancer, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. Cancer. Cancer, you're being told to have faith here in the abundance that is coming in. For some of my Cancers, because you've kept the faith, you have abundance flowing in. This also connects to the Chosen One message that I had the other night, where I was talking about, oh my gosh, I don't want to butcher it, where he says, you have been faithful over a few things, so I will make you ruler of many. That was Matthew 25, the parables of talents, the parable of talents. So for my Cancers, there is something here where you have many talents, and by you expressing these talents and sharing them, the more that you share, the more that you extend those talents, the more that you extend a helping hand, the more abundance that flows into you. The more that you hoard your talents, the more that you only focus on one talent and you don't evenly water all of your crops, you know, you're only as strong as your weakest crop. So there's something here, Cancer, to make sure that you're really diving into and being a faithful servant to all of the gifts that he bestowed upon you, and to make sure that you're also sharing those gifts. And if you are struggling with abundance at all or prosperity at all, just know that if you go back to your weakest one that he gave you, again, this can be the one that you buried as a little kid, something that you feel like you were shamed out of doing or you just don't have time for. If you go back to that thing you just don't have time for, then the thing that you're really trying to push forward that feels stuck, like it's just not budging, it's not moving, well, it can't move because it's only as strong as the weakest link. And so he's protecting you by not letting something blossom and bloom right now, because you need to strengthen the weakest link so that it actually has a strong foundation for the one that you're really trying to push forward to push through. All right, after Cancer is it Virgo? No, Leo. See, I don't want to forget a sign. All right, Leo. Leo, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. Leo. Leo, you could be dealing with a child here. Congratulations if you got pregnant or if you're about to, or be cautious if you don't want that, because I see it. All right, so for some of my Leos, there is something here also about humor, needing to have humor in a situation and grace with yourself. So for some of my Leos, this could be something that was unplanned. Anything in your life, it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, this could even be unplanned getting a pet. It can be like, no, we're not going to get an animal, and then all of a sudden you walk out your door to go to work and there's like a stray animal and you're like, I can't say no to this. Okay, I'll take it in, foster it for a little bit, and then before you know it, you adopt it. Before you know it, it's yours. So this can be also, Leo, trying to push, if you're trying to push something forward, something in a totally different area, in a totally different facet of your life, would actually like zoom, fly forward, because that's what you're supposed to do. So for some of my Leos, you could feel stuck if you're on a certain path that you don't feel is moving forward. Meanwhile, because that's not the throne that God has set for you. Meanwhile, if you were to drop that, totally hand your thorn over to Christ and totally hand everything over to him, then he would bestow his grace upon you, take all the burdens, and then birth a brand new career for you, and you could almost laugh. It would be comical at how abundant you would become in something. This can be someone who's like, you know, they've been, I don't know, say they've been like a accountant for like 20 years, 15 years, 10 years. They've been at their job for a long time. They're like, this is boring. This sucks. I hate going into the office every day. Like, I want to get out of here. This is so frustrating. And then say they have like a really good singing voice, or they're really good on a musical instrument, and say they make some videos, because Leos are supposed to be out there on the stage. They are supposed to be out there. It's like the right person sees you, that your video goes viral. Like, there's something here, Leo, where something is literally almost comical how easy it is, but that's just it. Life is not supposed to be like, well, life is difficult and has suffering, but our life purpose in life is not supposed to make us heavy. It's not supposed to bring us frustration. It's not supposed to be something that we feel uninspired. In fact, it's supposed to be the very opposite, Leo. You're supposed to feel inspired, excited, young, youthful, rejuvenated, enthusiastic about your job. And if you don't, then there's something here about dropping the one you got. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. That's what I'm hearing. So Leo, there's something here that Spirit wants you to drop it like it's hot. And it's almost like as soon as you drop something that's been such a burden, something else is literally just gifted to you. It's just put, like the stork flies in. I don't know, stork is coming through. So some of my Leos, this could also be a home. If you are like frustrated in your living situation, it's almost like the moment that you really give it up, you really give it up to God, you really surrender over fully, he hands you the keys, because remember, only God has authority, only God has the keys. So stop giving authority to the people and the places in your life, Leo, that do not have the keys to your throne, because only he has the keys to your throne. So for some of my Leos, you're getting caught up in giving the authority to the wrong person, and by switching that up and getting right in that situation. And I'm hearing Get Right by Jennifer Lopez. Get right, da 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 da, we can get right, da 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 da, we can get right. Okay, I don't even know like the lyrics to that song. Maybe go listen to that song, Get Right, by Jenny from the block. Okay, after Leo is Virgo. Virgo, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. Virgo. Virgo, woo, you have a lot. So for some of my Virgos, you have a lot of options. You're trying to choose. For some of my Virgos, by being spontaneous and open and traveling and sharing, you could repair something, or you could create a partnership of a lifetime, like truly the partnership of a lifetime. Something here about mountains and molehills. Making a mountain out of a molehill. Someone could be making a mountain out of a molehill. I don't know, but for a lot of my Virgos, there is a strong, I would say, third-party situation, but it's almost like a quadruple party situation. Because for some of my Virgos, you or the person that you like, or the job that you want, or like something that you're after, it's like competitive. A lot of people want that thing. A lot of people want that person. A lot of people want you. There's, you know, your job is very competitive, but there's something here about sharing is caring, and being in a divine union is actually what's going to take your career to the next level. It's going to ascend to this just like sunshine, bright. It's going to be a bright, 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 bright sunshiny day. So something here is going to be a bright sunshiny day for my Virgos. All right, after Virgo is Libra. Libra, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. Libra. Libra, you are being told to be patient here. So again, see the beginning thing. Okay, so for some of my Libras, there could be something, I'm not giving health advice, I'm just reading what I see. Please go to a doctor or a health professional. It seems for the Libra that I'm talking to, that is very important. Patience, care, health. So please take care of yourself. Please be patient. The body takes time to heal. Hand everything over to him, because truly there are miracles that you can literally watch and read all on the internet, all over Amazon, buying books on this, people who have had like tumors and then all of a sudden the tumor just like shrinked and ate itself. Not giving health advice, but just do your research on fasting for 72 hours and putting your body into autophagy, working up to that, please. Don't just go right into that. I didn't say to do that, so don't do that. I'm saying to do your research on how to safely learn about fasting, because that could really help some Libra here who is going through a health struggle. I'm sorry, not all these messages are always going to apply. Again, please check your Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter, but all the messages that are coming out here for the Libra that I'm speaking to, there's something about your health that needs to have care immediately, and there's something here of stop giving so much to others. And again, the same message that this was at the beginning, Chosen One video, at the beginning of this video, that you are handing the keys to your throne to all these other people who don't even have the authority, don't even have the keys. So it's like you're handing the authority over to the people who don't have the keys to your throne. So that's deteriorating someone's health here. All right, after Libra is Scorpio. Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. Scorpio. And you guys, this can also be a relationship, like a relationship that's totally depleting my Libras, or a job that's totally depleting you, and it's deteriorating your health. And it's like, Spirit's like, we can get you back on track, but you have to walk away from that person, that situation, because it's not it. It's just not it. So Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. Scorpio, there's something here about freedom, 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 freedom and education. So some of my Scorpios, you could have Aries in your chart or be working with an Aries. And there's something here about cooperation, work, so working with others, expanding, being free, finally free. I'm seeing a dove here, indigo, you know, indigo could be my indigo star seed. Shout out to you guys. You can look into that. But there is something here about releasing all tension, and whenever you free your mind, now I'm hearing that song, Free Mind, by, is that Thames? Yeah, Free Mind, It's like a nice like R&B Afro song. Okay, yeah, check out Free Mind, it's a good song. There's something here, Scorpio, about needing to relax, dance, give yourself the freedom from overthinking a situation, give yourself permission to, like, whenever, some of my Scorpios, you're a perfectionist. And so it's like, you're working on something, but you're working on it all the time, and you could be in too much isolation. And so Spirit is like, get out and be with other people, first of all. And then secondly, make sure that you're like listening to relaxing music and taking dance breaks whenever you're in your school, because we all know that dance breaks are super important, not just for our sanity, but for our whole energy system. It will actually also help you retain the information better. So for a lot of my Scorpios, there's something here about like taking breaks in your schooling, taking breaks in your education, taking breaks if your job is just like a high stress, high focus job, very meticulous. It's like, shake it off, like do the hokey pokey and turn yourself around, and then, you know, get down on it. Get down on it. I don't know, that's what I'm hearing. All right, Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and Jupiter. Sag. Please like, share, and subscribe if you have not already. If you're gonna watch, it's a free energy exchange. All right, so Sagittarius, there is something here about attachment is the root of all suffering, first of all. Some of my Sagittarians, you are attached to a past situation. You're attached to, now I'm hearing love is appreciation, not possession. Is that Osho or Thich Nhat Hanh? I think it's Osho, but maybe it's Thich Nhat Hanh. Love is appreciation, not possession, first of all, Sagittarius. And secondly, attachment is the root of all suffering. So if love is appreciation and not possessing something, then love is not attachment. So if you are attached to something in the past and that's why you're unhappy or keeping yourself from delight, or if someone else is feeling this about you, then it's not love, it's obsessiveness and it's attachment. So there's something here about becoming more wise, because we have wisdom showing out, transcending what you perhaps thought was love. And now as you transcend and mature into your heart, you understand what love really is, and you understand, oh my gosh, I love that person, and because I really, really love them, I don't even need them in my life. I can just love them as they are, because love is appreciation, not possession. So I don't have to have the thing that I love at all, because first of all, I already have it. We already have everything. We're never without, right? And secondly, love is appreciation, not possession. So for me to love something is never about me possessing it. It's simply about me loving it, just loving it and embracing it. And you know, Sagittarius, oftentimes when we're able to really love something in this way, that is the exact frequency that it attracts that thing to us, because it feels that genuine free love. I'm hearing the free mind, so you could be dealing with a Scorpio. But there's something here, Sagittarius, about also watering, you know, what you water grows. So this is also with your thoughts. So being cautious if you're staying up in bed at night and you're watering the negative thoughts, making sure that you're being more conscientious to water the positive ones, and to catch yourself in self-awareness whenever you are having thoughts that are around attachment. Remind yourself that suffering or attachment is the root of all suffering. And then switch that thought out, exchange it for something else. So for a lot of my Sagittarians, it would be really powerful for you to do belief work and for you to really work on rewriting and reprogramming your subconscious. All right, I love you guys. If you'd like a personal reading, please hit me up, and like, share, and subscribe.